My name is Alicia Tillman. I'm from Lincoln, Nebraska, and I'm currently doing my student teaching in a kindergarten classroom at Arnold Elementary. Today, my presentation will be over teaching diverse learners. To begin, my competency statement is I'm competent at adapting instruction in order to accommodate individual student learning needs. My guiding questions that kind of support that are what strategies can I use to motivate and support success from every individual child? And then what are effective ways to create and implement those successful adaptations for the individual learning? And then also, how can all children be successful in achieving not only the academic but also the behavioral goals? Moving right into my evidence, my first piece of evidence is a communication board that I created for a child in my SPED 362 class. It was a preschooler at Prescott Elementary. She was having a really hard time with communicating during those really difficult situations. So not only the transitions, but also the stressful moments within the classroom. We also learned that there was kind of some family things going on at home, a lot of trauma that she was experiencing. So going into trying to make something that would be helpful for her, I thought creating a communication board where she can just simply point to what's wrong, and then my verbiage would be able to calm her down and help her. What I realized with this is that I wasn't very specific to the classroom. I used kind of a very general toys and very general group of children, and she wasn't really able to make the connections of I'm upset with one of my peers, I'm going to point at the picture of the kids, or I really want this toy, I'm going to point to that. So although that this it worked in the sense of she would calm down in the moment, but I really wasn't providing her strategies to be able to do that individually and on her own. Moving into my second piece of evidence, this was created in my SPED 454 class. It was for a second grader at Rousseau Elementary. She was having a hard time with blurting, getting out of her seat when she wasn't supposed to, and then not completing her work when being asked. So I tried to make this chart move. In this level, I was able to give her the strategies, and we were able to practice, when you have something to say, we raise our hand, or I tried to make it more motivating for her to be sitting in her seat by moving her desk closer to the teachers, a little bit more away from the distractions of the other students, and then by doing her work, then that's how the chart move would be moved up. What I failed to realize was that I was trying to hammer in 3 behaviors instead of just 1 with this chart move. So although I was giving her the skills and the practice of doing it successfully, my way of documenting it was incorrect, and that's kind of why this wasn't as successful as it could have been. My third piece of evidence is actually something I created in my student teaching last quarter. I was doing my early intervention special education piece, so this was created for a 5-year-old who had autism. He was at the Early Head Start program at K Street. His teachers in his classroom, they were expected to sit for 45 minutes for a whole group lesson. Starting off, that's a really high expectations for 5-year-olds to begin with, but then adding in that autism piece, that was a really high expectation to even put on this child. He was successfully sitting for 27 minutes, so that was kind of exciting, but they really wanted to try to get him at 45. Through my observations, I also was seeing that they weren't really pulling him into the activities. He was given a fidget box of just random little toys that he could mess with and play with. He wasn't getting the verbiage or really any part of the curriculum. So what I thought was if I could create him something that would be individual to his needs, but also support him in that, giving him the curriculum piece, having him really be more a part of the classroom, would be how he could be more successful. So I created this. It's all little Velcro sheets. And so he was able to practice spelling out his name, and I made it adaptable so when they changed their lesson or their theme in their classroom, they could easily change this. It wasn't something that they had to recreate every time. All they had to do was really take out the little small pieces and change it. Reflecting back on all of my pieces of evidence, it really kind of led me to 2 of the bigger ideas of my learning through my educational career. All parts of a child's life really do affect their success in learning. More specifically with my first piece of evidence, that child really had a lot of trauma going on at home, and it was affecting her socializing skills, her communication, and it was shown through those moments where she didn't know how to process, she didn't know how to calm down, and that's when she was getting really upset. And then my second one, where there should be more equity within a classroom instead of just equality. That really pulled through with my third piece of evidence, where you want to keep the expectation same for all kids in your classroom, but it should look different for the individual child. This child could still be expected to sit like everyone else, but you needed to give him support in order to do that. So creating that piece of that activity box was really something that I pulled for. Moving forward, I do have a job with early childhood special education, so kind of getting to reflect on this and thinking back on my 4 years of learning about this, I really saw that starting out very small, I wasn't quite sure of what the strategies were, it didn't work. But moving forward in my progression and my growth, I really now feel like I understand the whole piece of it. Not only does every part of that child's life affect them, but not every child's going to learn the same either, and you shouldn't expect them to do so. So that's kind of how I'm tying together my teaching diverse learners.